Hello everybody, and welcome to Gingerino's Let's Play of Pillars of Eternity. I'm your host, Eric, otherwise known as Gingerino. I'm the host of the World of Aora podcast, which is a lore podcast focusing on the Pillars of Eternity games as well as Avowed. If you found your way here, not sure why Pillars of Eternity and Avowed is paired together, it's because they share the same fantasy setting of Aora. And so, in my podcast, I explore the lore so that everyone who's played Pillars of Eternity or is looking forward to Avowed have the same knowledge base. But if you found that Pillars of Eternity is not your thing, like you're looking forward to Avowed, but you're just not into that CRPG style of game, or if you are into Pillars of Eternity and you're just looking to relive some awesome moments and maybe dive into some videos of it, this Let's Play is for you guys. Now, this Let's Play is largely going to be expositional. And for that reason, I'm not going to be doing a Path of the Damned run. This is not going to be me showing off how to beat the game in its hardest difficulty. Honestly, I don't even know if I could do this. I'm pretty sure I can handle hard. I know I can do normal. But this is an expositional Let's Play more than anything else. And so for that reason, I'm going to be doing it on storytime mode. I'm still probably going to die because I'll probably underestimate a boss or something, or not utilize something properly. So I'm going to be playing on storytime mode, mostly focusing on the exposition of the game. That's the logo that I use for the podcast. Yeah. And there's Woodaka, the goddess of justice.
Five wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night, their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern his only protection against the encroaching darkness. But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Gilded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start. You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
All right, let's get into it. So, first things first, we got to take care of character creation. Welcome to Pillars of Eternity character creation. The character creation for this game, as well as Pillars of Eternity 2, is pretty similar, and I wonder what in these things we're going to see in Avowed when it comes in. Now, this is an expositional podcast, so, I'm wanting to let you know the lore and stuff about the world, but, if I read this all here, and then I read this here, and then we get into one of these things, and I have to read that, and then I have to pick a sub-race, and we have to go with that. It just becomes quite a lot. So I'm actually just going to read for you the important pieces of lore about the character that I'm going to create. Now, on the off chance that I decide to do a voice for this character, I'm going to stick with male, so that way it's not as difficult for me to maintain the voice. So I'm actually going to do a male character for this Let's Play. As for the race, there's several races that we could pick here. If you've played fantasy games before, you've seen humans and dwarves and elves in fantasy settings. And they're pretty standard issue fantasy creatures. And so you've seen them before. But in Aora, Obsidian has wrote unique backgrounds to them. So like dwarves are very nomadic people. The humans are called folk in this world more often than not. And elves, they all have a pretty standard issue, but you learn more about them individually as you go. The ones that don't look familiar to many of you are the Amauans, and the Orlans, and the Godlike. And we're going to learn more about them as we play the game. But suffice to say, Amauans, big boy, tall boy, big beefy boy, very strong. Quite aquatic, they're usually found in or near oceans, whereas Orlans, small boy, tiny little boy, very hairy. They have a high resolve, high perception, but they're not very strong. They are very relevant to the story of Pillars of Eternity 1 because they're native to the area of the Deerwood, which is the setting that this game is played in. But what am I going to play as? I have selected a Godlike. Now, Godlike are interesting because they are normal Kith people. So this is the Kith races right here. They're normal Kith creatures who have normal Kith parents. But when they were in utero, one of the 11 gods of the world blessed them. Blessed being a subjective term, I guess, depending on what society they're born into. And depending on what god blesses them determines what kind of godlike they are. So like right now we're looking at a moon godlike. This is a person who is blessed by the goddess Andra, goddess of the moon and goddess of the ocean and whatnot. In Pillars of Eternity, you're only allowed to choose from these 4 sub-races, but theoretically speaking, there is at least one type of godlike for each of the 11 deities in the world, and possibly even more than one per god. It really depends. But for the game, you only get to pick 4. There's the death godlike, the fire godlike, the moon godlike, and the nature godlike. Since I am a red-headed fellow, I will choose my fellow ginger here, the fire godlike, blessed by the goddess Magran, goddess of fire and war. So over here, I'll read you the description for fire godlike, since we're going to be working on those. I didn't read the description for stuff about the gender because it's largely unimpactful in the game, and the lore for the world of Era. So fire godlike, the bodies of fire godlike often resemble hot metal, burnt wood, or stone with harmless flames that erupt from the cracks of their skin. You can kind of see that right there. It's just kind of coming out of this little face right there. Fire godlikes are objects of both reverence and fear in the Deadfire Archipelago. That is a region of the world that we're not playing in, but it is the setting for the second game. Many locals believe they have the power to awaken volcanoes, or that killing one will cause a volcano to awaken. In the Deerwood, fire godlike are often seen as a sign of the blessing of Magran, goddess of fire and war. It says that there. You also hover over this and it'll give you a little bit more information. So that'd be cool if I could awaken a volcano. I don't, last I checked when I played this game, I don't think a fire godlike can erupt a volcano, but whatever floats their boat. Battleforged is the game mechanic that I get for being a fire godlike. So how that works is when my endurance is at 50%, I essentially gain damage reduction. I glow hot like metal and I take less damage. As well, I do a small amount of fire damage to any creature who hits me. So if I get hurt real bad, I get super hot and I can take more hits and I hurt people who touch me. That makes sense. Fire godlike in battle. Okay. So I have to choose a body type now as a godlike because, again, my parents are normal parents, right? So I have to select whether or not I have human parents or Maoan parents, dwarven parents, or etc. Because I'm kind of a lanky boy myself, I'm going to go with Elven. I'm not as beefy as a normal human. I'm not tall. I'm not super short. I'm just right. So I have Elven parents, and I've been blessed by the god Magran. Now the class system is very fun in Pillars of Eternity. I love this stuff. So if you've played fantasy games before, you're familiar with Wizard, you're familiar with Ranger and Barbarian and Druid, you're familiar with a lot of these stuff. Priest is kind of like a cleric. It's a little more magic-y focused than a cleric is. It's not so much hit and smash things like D&D clerics end up usually being if you play a lot of that. One of the more interesting, well, not interesting, I guess, they're all pretty interesting, but one of the more unique classes for this game is the Cypher class. The Cypher class is Obsidian's homebrew class that is a lot like a psionics class. All the magic in the world of Eora uses soul magic. So there is soul energy throughout the world and everybody has a soul inside of them. And so this soul energy, or this essence, the stuff that souls are made of, is where magic is dealt with. For the Ciphers in particular, they actually, here I can actually read this for you. A recent discovery in the Eastern Reach, Ciphers were once called Rashalgwyn, Mind Hunters, by the Glonfathans. The Glonfathans are the native peoples of the Deerwood, which is the setting for this game. Ciphers have the ability to directly contact and manipulate other person's soul and psyche, using an ally or enemy's essence as the focus for their magic. So that's where a Cypher gets their magic. They use the person's soul that they're dealing with that's right in front of them, whether an ally or an enemy. Essence is just the stuff that souls are made of. But as interesting as Cypher classes are, I highly recommend if you're going to play Pillars of Eternity, if you do end up jumping into it, that you play a Cypher class for your first character. They get a lot of unique dialogue options, because they can basically read a person's mind when they get powerful enough. And they're really made for this world. Chanter is another interesting one. It's the closest you're going to get to a bard in a game like this, but they're not bards in their own outright. So how chanters operate is they utilize magic by chanting chants, as a chanter does, and they awaken the soul energy that is around them, and they reform that soul energy into magical spells. So don't worry, I'm not going to read all of these here for you. I'm just going to dive into a couple ones in particular. So a chanter, in every culture across Ayora, there are chanters. Many historians consider chanters to be the most ancient workers of magic. They're hallowed phrases stirring the collective memory of wayward souls around them, compelling them to generate magical effects in a kind of reenactment. In some societies, chanters form organized groups of storytellers and researchers, but in most parts of the world, they are just a time-honored part of local folk traditions. All right, so, and these are all the abilities that I get as a chanter, and I'll go into these a little more in detail as we go. Since I am a podcaster, and that's how we're starting this whole thing, which I think is kind of like storytelling and researching and lore searching, I'm actually going to go with a chanter. So I'm a fire god-like chanter. Now, here's where I have to actually pick what I'm going to do. So phrases, when a chanter enters into battle, they immediately start singing phrases. What these phrases do is two things. One, they produce a passive effect. So, they might make everyone on your party stronger or make any enemies nearby weaker. It's just a passive effect kind of thing. Or, might give you a boost to something. So as a chanter is chanting these phrases, they generate soul energy, which they can use as magic. And I'll introduce that in a second. So let's see. I'm going to pick some stuff here. I like death metal. I'm a huge death metal fan, so I'm going to pick the most metal things I can think of. This one stands out to me because it says Winds of Death. Drains a portion of endurance from all enemies in the area. Yeah, that sounds about right. And then I need to think of another one. If they grew their tongues? No. Dull the edge, blunt the point. Yeah, you know what? That sounds pretty metal. Reduces slashing and piercing damage of enemies in the area. So I got two things here that are debuffs to my enemies. So that's cool. I'll go with that. So invocations. Invocations are essentially the magical spell that chanters use. So when they cast a spell, they are casting an invocation. So they sing their phrases to generate magic, and when they have enough magical power, they cast an invocation. That's how it works. I only get to pick one. Let's see. What is the most metal out of all the... Ooh. White worms writhe in the bellies of the dead. Yes, that sounds hella metal. Cause a nearby downed enemy to explode, expelling 3 white grubs and crushing nearby enemies. Yes. Okay, this is awesome. This is all the statistical gamey stuff for this here spell, which is great. If I cast this on a dead body, they will explode, and then I'll have little helpers. Oh, I love it. I love the chanter. They're so cool. Attributes. So these are the attributes that you play around with. I'm hopeful that these are the 6 attributes we'll see in Avowed, but who knows what their character creation is going to be like. If you're new to Pillars of Eternity, this is, or really any RPG, this is where a lot of people go like, oh, I'm not sure. What do I don't know. And Obsidian knows this, I think, and they made it real easy for you. When you choose your class, when you get to the attribute stage, there'll be these gold and silver stars. The gold stars basically mean highly recommended for this class, and silver star just means regular recommended. And I'm going to take it one step further for you guys. If you are playing this game and you're not really sure what to do, if you're playing it on an easy enough mode, it's really hard to make a build that won't work. You could probably put all these down to 0 and practically beat the game on story mode. I say that now, watch as I die in this first episode. What I like to do, the gold star ones, I just increase them to 16, and then I put the rest into whatever silver stars I have left. So I had 4 points left over. If I had 2 silver starred ones, I would have just put 2 in each. Since I had 1 silver star, I increased it to there. Now, if I want to change any of these other 3 around, I could take something out of perception and put it into dexterity, but I'm just going to leave those as they are. And honestly, like, this right here is more than viable a build to play the game. Now the culture. So here's the thing, is this character that I got here, this guy, he is actually a foreigner to the Deerwood. He's coming to the Deerwood as someone else, and these are the cultures that you can choose from. It's not necessarily that you have been living there all the time, but maybe you were, but this is the culture that you've got. I'm not going to go into each one of them and read them all. That becomes, like, it just gets ridiculous after a while. A really big one that you're going to see a lot in this game, though, is the Adirian Empire, because the Deerwood, which again is the setting for this game, is a newly independent nation that started off as a colony from the Adir Empire. Think of the Adir Empire as Europe, way over across the Atlantic Ocean, and the Deerwooden nation as kind of like North American, so like Canada or the United States of America, for example. That's kind of the real world parallel there. Not that the Adir Empire is a lot like Europe. I'm not a historian, I couldn't tell you that. But since we can't choose the Deerwood, well, which one am I going to pick here? A lot of times when you play, you might want to pick the thing that gives you a boost to one of your attributes. But since I'm Canadian, I'm going to go with the White That Wins, because the White That Wins is essentially Antarctica, except people live there. So the White That Wins is a large, cracked southern expanse of polar ice. The White That Wins is home to pale elves and small colonies of daring explorers, outcasts, and adventurers. Now, see, this kind of makes sense because I chose my parents as elven, even though I was blessed by the goddess Magrin. And so it's interesting, actually, that a fire god-like would pop up around there. So that is kind of consistent so far. While virtually no plant life grows in the White, there is home to many hardy species of dangerous animal that forage from sea or prey upon each other to survive. And I gain a +1 to perception, as you can see up here. I'm going to quickly take a stop here at the Living Lands, because there is, I don't know what I'm doing with my mouse there, rumor, there is a leak information, we don't know if it's true or not, that Avowed will be played in the Living Lands. And so this is what we know about this place. This is almost literally, other than one book in the game, this is almost literally everything we're going to know about Avowed if it's played in Living Lands. It's a mountainous region of a large northern island renowned for its diversity of plant and animal life. The weather is unpredictable and its ecosystems vary dramatically from valley to valley. The Living Lands are home to an assortment of races and a variety of colonial and independent settlements. This one part here, the weather unpredictable, ecosystems vary dramatically from valley to valley. So if you're walking in one valley and it's like a deserty thing, then you're going to climb up and over a ridge down into the next valley, which could be lush with life, or a glacier or whatever. So it varies dramatically. So it's a really cool place that the game can be played in. But anyways, since I'm from Canada, I'm going to go with the White That Wins. Background, this is just stuff for your character, you know, if you like to roleplay as something, or if you want to just determine what your base mechanics are. Depending on what culture you pick will depend on what options you have for background. So in the White That Wins, I can pick one of these 7. Since I am a friendly local UPS delivery guy, I'm going to go with Laborer, because I don't think any of these other ones really match with that. And I gain a +1 to athletics and mechanics, which is great. Alright, and now here's where we choose my face and my colors. Now, this is what a death godlike looks like. This is not what a fire godlike looks like. So let's scroll through. See, this is an example of a fire godlike, and consistent with what we're seeing here. Let's see. There are 3 heads available to choose from. This is the second one. Look at that. Oh yeah, got some fancy horn work going on there. If you go to the godlikes, you'll notice that all of them have weird horn shapes, and so for that reason, they actually can't wear any headgear. So you don't get any head armor, but you get a special thing like I have for Battleforge, where I take less damage when I'm at low health or low endurance. And this is the last head, so I only have these 3 to choose from. I'm not sure which one I want to pick, to be honest. Let's see what the portraits look like. This one matches this guy a lot. And this oh man, oh look how happy this guy is. Oh, it's so full of joy. I love it. Oh man. And then that one. Okay, so we have these 3 to choose from. I don't even know if this is a fire godlike. He kind of looks like a fire godlike. He's got that obsidian skin. He's got cracks. His hair looks like it's made of lava that's just sort of holding together, or light. And devil horns, or I guess goat horns, but whatever. But I love this guy. Oh man, is there? Oh, not quite. Aha! There we go. There we are. There's the little V up there. There's the 4 points. There. This is good. I love this guy right here. Oh man, I'm just getting a kick out of how overly happy he is. He's got this face of death. He's obsidian black skin and fire and lava everywhere, and he's just like, "Hey guys, I'm having a good day." Oh man, it's good. I'm not gonna stress over the colors. I actually kind of like the color scheme there, so we'll go with that. All right. Let's see. What voice shall I pick? I don't think female smooth.
Hey there.
Yeah, that doesn't match. I don't even think.
Watch and learn.
Well, it's kind of close. What would a fire godlike's voice be like? I imagine it would be.
Let's go!
Maybe not feisty. No. Oh wait, let's.
They won't see me coming.
Yeah, see that sounds.
What is it? Now I am the leader of the group.
Who is that voice actor?
No prisoners!
Almost sounds like Matt Mercer, but I can't know for sure.
A blade in the dark.
A blade in the dark. You know, if I could keep up with that, I would do that. But you know, the best I could do is probably, "Hey, look at me, it's me, your local friendly neighborhood fire godlike from the white that wins. Everywhere I walked, the ground around me would melt because it was nothing but snow and ice. So there we go. That's me." Yep. Okay, I like it. Oh, okay. I gotta pick a name. I learned from, I can't remember where, it was another podcast or a YouTube video, that whenever you want to make a normal name fantasy, you just like add an extra letter somewhere. So now this is all of a sudden fantasy. Or here. Look at that. That's all of a sudden a fantasy name. I can't remember who it was. It was like Sam with 2 M's is now. I think it was Josh Sawyer was talking about this on some podcast he's getting interviewed in. So let's see. I am Eric. And I've so far based this character off me a little bit, so I should do something. You know what? Let's go with Eric. Oh, I mean, sorry, he's got Eric. Yep, my name is Eric. Eric. Whatever. There we go. That's me, Eric, the fire godlike chanter from the White That Lends. The White That Lends? Why did I put this L over here? The White That Lends Waverer. That's me. Apparently I've got a mace and a shield. Alright, let's go. So as I play this game, I'm gonna give commentary on the things that you guys are seeing and stuff that's going on. But I'm gonna let this voiceover happen too. Alright, Caravan Master Odema. The Caravan Master finishes addressing the group, his bushy red mustache and sagging jowls quivering as if for emphasis.
Everybody stays close to the wagons, got it? Stay out of the woods, and beasts take you if you were planning a stroll through those ruins up there.
He nods toward a looming black mass on the hillside.
Whole area's crawling with hut-dwelling types who'd be happy to stick an axe in you for trespassing. So mind that you don't track mud on their sacred blazing rocks.
That would be the hut-dwelling types, would be the Galan Fathans, a local native tribe in the area.
Tonight, everybody stays put, and in the morning we'll get the path cleared. Gilded Vale's less than a day out. Understood?
At last, the Caravan Master turns to you, frowning as he looks you over.
Touch of the rumbling rot, could be. There's a stinging beetle round here, carries it. You'll be fine once it passes your innards. Unless you don't drink water, course. Which case you'll be dead in a day.
What? You'll be fine. Or, you'll be dead in a day. That rumbling rot, that's quite the...
There's a berry grows in these parts, small and pink, called a springberry. About the size of a fingernail. Give you cramps if you eat it, but the frontiersmen make a tea from it. Calms the insides. Should get you through the night. You might check around, see if you can find some. Meanwhile, I'll see if we can scare you up some water. I know you want to hunt before it gets much darker, but see about refilling our water first. Got a sick one here.
He nods in your direction. Sparfle nods and slides the worn bow over his shoulder. I can't really read this preamble stuff because they jump right into the audio. And then these are my available responses. Add and I'm not going to stop every time that we have a discussion, but I'm just, because it's the first episode, I'm going to point out, I'm probably going to go with the first one or two things, and then we're going to move on through the conversation, unless I think there's something lore-related that is really important here. Well, oh man, I don't know if I like that voice. Yeah, whatever. Where would I find these berries?
They grow on a bush that's common round here, kind of funny looking. You'll know it when you see it. Doubt you'd have to go far off the road to find one.
I'll go see about those berries then.
Hold on. Take someone with you. I know you're not some helpless tenderfoot, not like most of this lot. But you drop dead, I don't want to be looking for the body. Got a schedule to keep.
He scans over the travelers, resting his eyes at length on a sturdy, armor-clad woman who has spent the journey's nights sleeping on uneven ground without blanket or pillow.
Kalisha. Kalisha!
The woman looks up on her own time.
He needs to find some springberries. Watch that he doesn't drop dead.
No promises.
What kind of guide says something like that?
Apparently I skipped it by accident. The kind you can afford is what she would have said. My bad. Odema chuckles and shakes his head. He looks at you. Don't listen to her. You're in good hands. He casts a sidelong glance at her. And I pay too well, if anything.
Off with you. Hayden should have supplies. See that you're equipped before you head out. We're in harsh country. Get your berries and hurry back. And if you get so much as a tickle of wind, you drop everything and you run. Something in the air tonight. If it's a Beowick, we'll shelter in the ruins. Hut dwellers be damned.
A Beowick, or a Beowack, depending on which voice actor is speaking the word, is spirit wind. It literally rips the soul out of your body. That's the kind of wind it is. So yeah.
You heard the man. Let's get going before you keel over.
Don't tell me what to do. Okay. Welcome to Pillars of Eternity. If this is your first visit Word of Bear, you may want to watch these windows. This is where all the tutorial stuff will be. If it's important to understand the world, I will talk about it. If not, boop, that's what I will do. So we are camped outside of Glanfathen Ruins right now. That's, ruins are up here. These are Pillars of Adra that are hanging out. It is illegal in this area of the world right now to camp inside the ruins. Even being this close would be considered illegal at this point. There is a long-standing bit of conflict between the Deerwooden colonists and the Glanfathen tribes that live in this area natively, because, well, we'll get into that as we go. But just know, it's very risky to be camping here right now. Alright. When playing the game, I might hold a tab key, and then this will happen. And it'll just outline all the things around that I can interact with, including this. These tall green glass pillars appear as if they have sprouted from the earth. The flickering fire, darn you, sets shadows dancing within. I guess I could also raise this up so I could read that. Yeah, these are Pillars of Adra. They are very important and unique to this world of Aora, and we'll see a lot more of them as we go. Alright, this is me and Kalisha here.
As
Let's
you
get
wish.
Most people you encounter were neutral or friendly. Yeah, I know. There are people everywhere. This is an Amawan character, big beefy boy. I saw a dwarf around here somewhere. But
Anyone need supplies? I've got sundries for sale.
is that Sam Regal? This is Hayden. You see a man wearing simple but mostly neat clothes. He's transfixed, however, by a ragged tear in the seam of his tunic.
Brought a whole wagon full of goods to sell, but not enough shirts for the road.
He scratches one cheek with his knuckles. It's covered with uneven stubble, as if he hasn't quite gotten used to the shaving on the road.
Say, is there anything you need? I've got some basic traveling supplies for sale if you'd like to take a look.
Who are you?
I'm a trader, originally from the Adir Empire, but I've been trying to establish new business out here. Life on the road has brought some unexpected challenges, to be sure. And I'm sure you've noticed how prickly the locals can be. But we're here to make the most of things, right?
So I'm going to take a minute to pause here and point out something interesting about how the conversation works in this game, and may or may not work like this in Avowed. When you have certain options, there are option number 2, 3, and 4 here. They are related to different dispositions. So if I say option number 2 here with an outlook like that, I'm sure you'll do well. That's a passionate response. If I say If you think these caravaneers are prickly, watch out for those axe wielders Odima mentioned. That's a clever response, and so on and so forth. The reason this is important is it's kind of a game mechanized way to represent role-playing. So if you want to role-play as a cruel character, you can select this option. And what will happen is slowly as the game progresses, you will increase your ranking in cruel. Now, it's not going to make you level up as a character. It's not going to give you like some super mega ability at the end of the game. But you will gain a reputation as a cruel person throughout the game. And that might appeal to certain factions or not appeal to other factions. And so it actually impacts your roleplay. So if you're playing this game and you're wanting to roleplay a certain type of character, pay attention to these little bracketed responses. I am going to go with... or I could pick something neutral. So anyways, in response to him... if you think these caravaneers are prickly, watch out for those axe wielders Odima mentioned. Look at that. I now have 1 rank in the disposition reputation. So I now went up 1 rank in cleverness, which is kind of like the sarcastic one. He laughs. That's excellent advice indeed.
Something else you need? Looks like we're settled for the night.
Why do you move all the way out here?
Because it seemed friendlier than Raid Ceres? My brothers took over the family mercantile business a few years ago, and there wasn't enough for me to do back home. I moved out to try and expand.
Raid Ceres is another colony to the north, other than this one in the Deerwood. He shrugs. Deerwood is a former 8-year colony, so it seems like a good place to start. And as much as I admire the Raid Ceres work ethic, they've always struck me as a little fanatical. Sounds reasonable enough. Out here, I'm just taking it one day at a time. I'd better go. just tells, okay, goodbye. I don't need to see you. Bye, Hayden. Exploration is good. Explore this game.
With Pillars of Eternity, we strive with every level to both evoke the essence of the beloved Infinity Engine games, as well as introduce something new and engaging for players to experience in the world of Aora. The caravan encampment was no exception to this goal. As the introduction area and the first impression of Aora has to offer, it really needed to speak to the player from the get-go. Keeping in mind this principle, we needed to begin the game with an image that instilled simultaneously the feeling of adventure players may be familiar with from a Dungeons & Dragons setting, while introducing them to our own unique world. The idea of a caravan huddled around a flickering campfire both seemed familiar and befitting as the humble beginnings to a grand adventure. By setting the scene before a large ancient ruin with peculiar stone-like objects growing from the ground, we felt this would introduce them to some of the key landmarks of the Deerwood. Another principle in our design was non-linearity. Pillars of Eternity is a game about choice and consequence. We didn't want our introduction to feel like an entirely guided experience, so we opted to keep the flow of the level pretty open to exploration. Once the player has finished speaking with Odema, they are free to wander around the immediate area and examine their surroundings, even find clues that foreshadow their inevitable ambush, a situation that very quickly teaches the player the concept of consequence in our world.
Cool. I forgot I had that enabled. So this is developer commentary about the game. So these are people at Obsidian that help make the game. They're going to have commentary every now and then. And I'm just going to stop and let it play through. If you're not interested in it, just scroll through the video a little bit until you see that thing at the top right disappear. Oh, I can go talk to Sparfle.
I'll have your water soon enough. Stream's not going anywhere.
Alright then. Alright, I'm looking for Springberries so I don't keel over and die. Are you a Springberry? No.
Let's check by those outcrops.
Will do. Auto pause. Enemy spotted. So when my characters spot an enemy, the game will auto pause for me. So that way I don't just run right into a combative situation. That said, I'm going to run right into a combative situation.
Happens.
Okay. So Pillars of Eternity utilizes the real time with pause. That means when the game is paused, everyone stays still like this, and when it's not paused, they do the things that they're supposed to do. Unless it auto pauses, because I have some things enabled. I don't need to tell you about this stuff yet. So, right now, the AI is on for these people, and so they will just fight automatically. But if I turn the AI off, they'll just stand there and this will have at me. So I am going to put AI on for my followers, but I'm going to leave it off for myself so that way I can show you how each of them works. So I'm going to move this person here. She's just going to do her thing with the AI the way it is. While the game is playing, I could select any of the abilities, or I could pause it and then select an ability and what I want to do with it. It really just depends how you want to approach combat. We'll see a lot more of that as we go. Alright.
As you wish.
As you wish.
Are you the Springberry?
This is it.
You are. Let's get rid of this. Odemus says you're a working man. Ooh. This is where I can start doing some of my role-playing. So, of a sort, I was a cook. It's a fire god, like, I feel like that would just be absolutely, that would go well. Let's see, blacksmith, builder, cook.
That's right. Made my living as a builder.
Yeah? How is it you happen to come here? You know, I don't want to have to go through each of these every time and sit here and listen to me go,
I don't know. Should I pick...
So I'm probably just going to, in situations like these, pick the first or second one, just to move the narrative along, and also because I know for a fact that this is kind of inconsequential to the meta-narrative of the game.
I made an error in my planning. One of my buildings collapsed. That was the end of my short career.
Well, we've all got things we'd like to leave behind. God knows I do. I tell you that, here's hoping they never track us down. Kalisha breathes in her surroundings. Been a long time since I've been this way, but I always did like it. Lord Rajik's offer makes a girl think, I'll give him that. You here to settle like the rest of the lot?
It's a hard offer to pass up.
You won't find many offers like that in these parts, believe me. Got some big plan in store?
I'm gonna settle here and start a new life.
Well, who knows? Radric pays well enough. Maybe we end up neighbors. Anyway, wasting time here. Odema will give me an earful. Let's be on our way.
Hey, why are you here?
Kalisha sighs unevenly. Her eyes search the ground at her feet. My sister moved out here some time back. She sent me a letter. She seemed worried. But that's how she always is. This time, though, she asked me to come out, and that's got me a little worried. I haven't seen her in ages. Been doing guide work in Ishimital? We'll go with that. But I'd do anything for her. She's much better woman than me, so I'm here and we'll see. Odema I've worked with before. He usually doesn't drive a route this way, but he's doing it for me.
Alright, let's get back to camp.
You know, I wouldn't hold my breath that Sparfle's getting you water anytime soon. He does what he feels like, when he feels like it. We should check up on him first, slap him around a little. Stream's just down that way. Come on, let's go get your water. Find Sparfle. I know where I'm going, so I'm just gonna go straight there. But for the rest of us who play this, you might explore any of this area, trying to find out where you're going.
Went hunting. At least you left the water skins. Come on.
Alright, water skin over here. I'm not going to, I'm not going to explore everything thoroughly, because just in case you decide you get into this game and you want to play it for yourself, I want you guys to be able to explore some stuff on your own. So this is going to be a mainline kind of Let's Play. You crouch at the riverbank and dip your water skin into the cool water while Kalisha waits nearby, keeping watch. As you rise, you notice her look up sharply towards the tree line. Out of the trees emerges Sparfle, one of the guides, barely discernible in the dim moonlight. He no longer carries his bow, and there is a strangeness to his gait. His stride wobbly as he moves towards you with labored breath.
Sparfle? Are you alright?
Sparfle's toe catches a rock, and he collapses forward in his feet, the feathered shaft of an arrow planted between his shoulders like an enemy flag.
Ambush!
Beagle Fathens who are not happy that we're treading around their holy sites. So, this game is paused now, so how I can do this is I can select my person and tell them to attack this person. I can then select Kalisha and tell her to attack this person. I unpause the game, And then it auto pauses because apparently combat didn't start.
What is it?
Unpause again, and then you do your thing. Critical hit is a great hit. Alright, if I was having trouble with this guy, which I'm not, I can get Kalisha to use her knockdown on this guy. I'll show you what it does. Well, apparently I didn't get to show you, but it will knock him down, hence the name knockdown.
Come on, we have to get back to camp.
Enemy spotted. A little circle over here you can kind of see, so that's where an enemy is. So let's get just over here. I don't think I have a bow equipped yet. Let's equip one. I'll show you how that all works later. Alright, I'm going to switch weapons, and then I'm just going to fire at this guy from far away. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna play around with this a little bit. Let's have Alicia hang out up here. Ooh, she's getting spotted. So this is the way that this game can kind of work. So I'm going to shoot at this guy. Ah, he's also got a bow. Okay, let's get her to stop sneaking and go straight for him. And then I'm going to remove the bow for a mace and go. Come on, knock him down. That works. That knocked him down. Let's get rid of that.
As you wish.
There's normally 2 enemies here, but we're on story time mode, so it just, got rid of one. Alright. All around you lie the massacred remains of the other travelers, peppered with arrows and knife hilts, splayed and bug-eyed and filthy. Kalisha puts the back of her left hand to her mouth as if to ward away some poisonous vapor. A handful of dark figures stands above the fallen, treading on limbs and backs and heads, jerking their axes from bodies as if from half-split logs. One of them, towering and severe with a thick beard tasseled with knots, holds a wet blade at the neck of the man you recognize as Hayden, the last of your caravan left standing.
Lay down your arms, trespasser. Do not forfeit this man's life for a fight you will lose.
Now, here again is where I can pick one of these dispositions that I want to rank up in, and when you see something like this at the beginning, it means that you have passed a necessary check to see if you can say this. So if I didn't have a lore of rank 1, I wouldn't be able to say this second option here. Anyways, I'm gonna go with that. I know. We have not trespassed. We merely wish to pass through. Your words carry no weight when I have seen the truth with my own eyes. Blood must be paid for this intrusion. So I say again, lay down your arms. Don't trust them. They mean to kill us all. Judging by the string of animal teeth around your neck, I am guessing you are worshippers of Gallowayne. If Gallowayne told you to stop protecting the ruins, would you? The man frowns and motions as if to swing his axe. Hayden winces, but the blow never comes. Instead, the man cocks his head, intrigued. Of course, but he would not. It is by the command of all the gods that we accept this charge. How do you know? Because it's consistent with their beliefs, or because it's what you were told? The man glares. It has always been known to my people. I see. And what of Gallowayne's edict that weakness and age must be purged by youth and strength? You think Gallowayne would want some moldy, crumbling stones to survive long after their builders have turned to dust? The man's nostrils flare as he fumes. He would not. He told us otherwise. I'm sure he did. Just not you personally. But why should that stop you from killing innocents? Distracted, the man's grip falters on his axe handle, and he nearly fumbles it, affording Hayden the moment he needs to dodge out of his swing, which comes too late. Howling with rage, the man charges you instead. Boom. Okay, so I have Hayden in the party now. I'm going to leave his AI on, but I am going to use Blinding Strike to blind this guy. You are going to go knock him down, and then you're going to run and beat him up.
How can I help?
Well, you can help by beating him up. this is how easy storytime combat is. It's ridiculously easy. Your enemy lies supine on the ground, unable to rise. His companions now silent among the other dead. His breath comes in wheezing, fitful gasps. He looks not at you, but at the sky above.
Forgive us.
Barely audible beneath his choked sighs, a whisper of wind stirs the air. At this, the man's eyes roll back as he closes them. Good, good. The gods are just. A queer smile crosses his face. I am ready. The wind begins to swell, whipping around the camp, electric and volatile, upending pots and rattling tents like an angry spirit. You can feel it begin to seep beneath your skin, and where it pierces you, it feels as though it is rending you apart from within. Seated against a wagon wheel amidst the howling maelstrom slashed across the chest and bowel, Odima's body stirs, and with great effort he raises his sagging head. His eyes barely open, he looks directly at you.
Get inside! Run!
A beam. Steven from the bodies. If you have a strong enough soul, you can actually withstand the force of a bivouac, but you've got to have a super strong soul. Straining against a gale that threatens to pull you off your feet with every step, you set your hands in the worn folds of weathered rock and set about pulling yourself up the precipice. With a last burst of energy before your arms give out, you swing yourself up onto the ledge. Hayden trails behind, slowed by his injury and delayed by early hesitation. As he nears the face of the rocks, one of the fallen attackers who had been feigning death lunges for Hayden and topples him onto the rocky ground. Restrained, Hayden lashes out against his fatigued assailant, but struggles to break hold. They are close to you, despite the wind, from your position. If you were to throw your weapon at the attacker, you would have a good chance at hitting your mark. I don't have a dexterity high enough to do this, so do whatever this thing would have been, so I'm just going to throw your weapon. Your aim is true, and the hit jars Hayden loose. Lurching to his feet, Hayden clambers up the base of the rocks as he nears the top. However, the wind flares, pulling him sideways, tearing one of his hands free. But diving out to the hard rock, you manage to catch hold of it, securing the other hand as you pull with waning strength, and it feels as though your arms will be jerked out of their sockets. They hold just long enough for Hayden to set his feet and join you on the trembling ledge. There is a deep resonance to the swelling wind now. You feel it in the rocks beneath your feet and inside the cavity of your own chest, as though it would shake the marrow from your bones. Each new gust menaces the old stones before you, and loosening connections, unsettling balances as you dart beneath the old archway. The entire portal begins to fall beneath its own weight. Loading screens, I love to look at loading screens.
Was that?
A bivouac. Had to be.
Then we're lucky to be alive.
And we're the only ones.
There could be another collapse. We're not getting out that way anyway. Let's get further inside.
Alright. We're inside these ruins now. What are we gonna do, guys? We're gonna look at this magnifying glass. A lower level of the ruins has been blocked off by fallen rubble.
What is it?
I'm gonna have to get a new mouse because the clicking is very loud, so I apologize. Oh man.
That should be far enough. But what now?
Storm has to die sometime.
What happened out there? Kalisha shakes her head. Windstorm, of a kind they only get in Air Glanfath. Not too many people live through them, so it's hard to know what's true. The Glanfathan word is bivouac. To them, it's the gods' way of reaping the souls of the land that could find their own way out. That couldn't find their own way out. But they'll take a living soul as soon as a dead one. Still got yours? You don't seem too upset about all this. Kalisha looks you in the eye, a volatile current running beneath her voice. Maybe you just don't know me enough to know what upset looks like. And maybe I've seen worse, too. Seen worse and keep on walking, because there's nothing else to be done. And because other people you care about who still need you. Let's get going. Right. So this is actually where I'm going to stop this episode today. Thank you guys for joining in. I don't have can't make camp. I have no camping supplies. But this is where we're going to call it for today. So thanks for joining in on this first episode of the Let's Play. We went over the basic character creation and the introduction to this Pillars of Eternity game. And in the next episode, we're going to go through this initial tutorial dungeon and then see the first narrative twist of the game. If you guys have any questions or comments about the game or things that you think I could do better or worse, let me know. You can email me, worldofaora@gmail.com, or reach me on Twitter @worldofaora, or my personal Twitter @gingerino42. And yes, that is a veiled reference to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Anyways, thank you guys for joining. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time.